All right, welcome back to Flecka Soxa Podcast, episode 233. Today on the show, a plane crashed after colliding with a helicopter in D.C. a few nights ago. We're going to tell you what we think happened there. Then we have a ton of strong executive orders and confirmations, along with a wave of resignations hitting the federal government. Then DEI Captain America says some pretty un-American things in Cringe of the Week. And last but not least, in Urban Decay, we have elected officials acting out, and in one case, it ends in a brawl. All this and more, it's Flecka Soxa Podcast, episode 233, ranked the best news podcast of all time.
Because words are just words until action actually starts. And actions speak louder than words. But at the same time, words speak louder than actions because sometimes it's the right thing to do. Very cool. Very cool.
It's Flecka Soxa Podcast featuring Richard Grab.
All right, one for one on the intro, as always. Guys, our country just witnessed Donald Trump overcome political persecution, an assassination attempt, and the entire deep state in order to regain the presidency in a historic victory. There's one secret ingredient that allowed Trump to do all of this, and that is testosterone. What most people don't realize is testosterone makes men willing and eager to take on challenges, but sadly, too many of us have lost our fight, and that's exactly how the globalists want us. They want us weak, out of shape, and full of microplastics and estrogen with low T. That's why we've decided to partner with Chalk. Chalk offers a whole lineup of products formulated to increase your energy, focus, detoxify your body, and clinically studied boost your testosterone. Ingredients in the Chalk Male Vitality Stack have been clinically studied to boost free testosterone by 87% in just 21 days. Unlike the gimmicky vegetable pills or powder, you will feel the difference, and they have the clinical studies to back it up. And right now, you can get 25% off of your Chalk subscription for life. Just go to chalk.com, CHOQ.com, and use promo code FLECKUS. And the best part, you can cancel easily at any time. Chalk is made in America, and their all-American customer service team is standing by and ready to assist you. Let's make male vitality great again. Get your Chalk today. CHOQ.com is the website, promo code FLECKUS. And you could also call them at 50-CHALK-3000. Everything is linked in the description. Thank you to Chalk for sponsoring. Let's get into housekeeping. All right, thank you to Chalk for sponsoring.
Thank you, Chalk.
Every week, my gym numbers go up, and it's all because of Chalk.
There you go.
Very happy with my subscription. Comes every month. It's very reliable. I love the pills I'm taking. All right, happy Friday, Richard.
Thank you.
We have a Friday episode. You know what that means?
Same as a Tuesday.
Nothing.
Just different material.
It just feels good because tomorrow weekend.
Yep.
All right, we have a lot to get to. Honestly, we do have a packed show, so we're going to have a little bit of a pace to it, especially in housekeeping.
It's a big housekeeping. Honestly, guys, like, what do you think we're going to do? Like, the trans guy, he zipped his dick in his pants or something.
Well, we're going to do that too.
But, like, I mean, literally, it's like the Make-A-Wish situation where everything good is happening for us. Everything we want to be done is happening, and it's happening very quickly. So we have to obviously touch each of those subjects.
We got to touch them all, but there will be trans people in Cringe.
Yeah, Mr. Sir. We're going to do Mr. Sir again.
All right, let's get right into it. We have a lot of executive orders. Executive orders and policy wins this week. Mm-hmm. The first one, the Defense Intelligence Agency received a memo to everyone who works there. And can you kind of give a synopsis?
Yeah, the synopsis is that the Defense Intelligence Agency suspends observance of MLK Day, Women's History Month, Holocaust Day of Remembrance, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Pride, Juneteenth, Women's Equality Day, and National Hispanic Heritage Month in the leaked memo.
Good. That's not your job.
That was all late added, recent stuff that doesn't matter for the national defense, does it?
No more fake holidays for charity or whatever they were trying to do.
Asian American Pacific Islanders, hey, good on you for trying to grab one. It doesn't really matter, right? Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You get the 4th of July. You're with us on that, right?
Yeah. America first, as always. All right. Next story. Trump signed an executive order ending radical indoctrination in K through 12 schools.
Yeah. So that was one of his key ones. And, you know, for a lot of these, they're just from a federal perspective, and a money perspective. So he writes this executive order, and then anyone who is funding this or helping this is now excluded or cut off basically from these things. And this one kind of amplified school choice as well. There are some little caveats here. The crazy teachers are still going to be crazy teachers in their crazy school districts, but this is just kind of from a federal perspective, putting an end to the nonsense.
It's good week one shit.
Yeah.
And then next, it's illegal to now do sex changes for anyone under the age of 19.
Yeah, Trump signs executive order banning sex changes for anyone under 19. It is the policy of the United States that it will not fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another. And it will rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures.
There you go. Pretty common sense stuff.
Again, though, some state doctor in Minneapolis is still going to be doing it. This is from a federal perspective on funding, encouragement, and access, right?
Step one.
It's a start.
It's a start, exactly. And then we're also ending the PrEP, the worldwide PrEP program we had for people with AIDS, I think in other countries, especially Africa.
Yeah. This woman is tweeting from a sympathetic perspective. She says, of all the things so far, the shutting down of PrEP worldwide today, PEPFAR, could be the most catastrophic. It ends access to life-saving HIV prevention drugs to millions across the globe, the global south, halting a program that saved 25 million lives.
Well, that's not our problem.
Yeah, you guys can buy PrEP on the open market. I don't know why the U.S. taxpayer is giving you this stuff so you can go to a twink party, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously when it comes to this spread of AIDS, it happens in a certain way in Africa for a few different reasons. There's a guy who tweeted his dad was involved in that. Can you read the original tweet and then the response? It's a little bit of reading for Richard today.
Yeah, and for some reason, no one talks anymore about the reason Africans get HIV from sex. There's no delicate way to put this. They use sand and grit to dry things out and increase friction, which leads to tears and fissures.
And then John Carter replied to that with his experience from his dad's perspective, who taught sex ed in Africa.
Yeah, he said, my friend's dad used to do sex ed in Africa. He'd travel around to their Neolithic villages and demonstrate the use of a condom by rolling the condom over a stick. Then he'd drop off a giant box of condoms. Later, he went back to follow up and discovered that they'd been faithfully rolling the condoms over sticks and hanging them up on the walls before sex, with the understanding that this white man magic would prevent them from catching the demon the white magicians warned them about.
So, we can
I don't know. Is that true? I've heard some similar stories with Africans doing AK-47 sighting, and they put it to the top sighting because they believe that gives it more power.
Yeah.
So there are definitely some white to black African misunderstandings. I don't know how credible this random Twitter user is.
It rings true, and also, we have our own issues here.
Yeah.
We have our own resources that we need to protect. We don't need to be going and helping people. They can go and help themselves, which is actually the message of this next guy, the former president of Kenya. Listen to what he says about Trump cutting off funding to Africa.
People the other day crying, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country.
Yeah.
It's not your country.
It's not your country. It's not your government. He goes on to say, we don't pay tax dollars to America. Why do we need them to help us with everything?
Yeah. And again, America is almost in like a sexless sugar daddy relationship with all these countries. It's like, buy your shoes, I'll do this. And we don't get anything back. Like, it'd be one thing if we were taking all the oil from the Middle East or the war-torn countries that we were kind of occupying. But we don't even get anything anymore.
Well, to be fair, sometimes they give us their shittiest people and criminals.
That's true. That's true. They export them.
We get some. We get something. Next is just a new policy. Trump sent the military into California, and listen to what they did to stop the fires.
Yeah, the United States military just entered the great state of California and under emergency powers turned on the water flowing abundantly from the Pacific Northwest and beyond. The days of putting a fake environmental argument over the people are over. Enjoy the water, California.
It's crazy that we needed Trump to think of this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should send water to the place that's on fire. And it's like, you crazy son of a bitch, this just might work.
Hold on. Let me run the numbers really quick. Like
Jarvis.
Quant. Yeah. That's my quant. Let's just see if the water should get there. And, that was one of the things Trump has been, like the whales and the windmills and one of those things you fixate on. He was so fixated on the smelt, this little fish that they were stopping all this water for.
Never even saw a smell.
Yeah. And so I guess it's in the military with emergency powers turned it on. I don't know.
But it's all common sense stuff. Like you think like the Democrats and the progressives, they want to make everything so complicated and nuanced and like, oh, you can't do this because of that, but you can do this, but only a little bit. And it's just common sense. Oh, we have water. We're diverting it to the ocean. Let's send it to California. It's like the most common sense thing ever.
Yeah, it's not even hard.
It's not even sophisticated. It's not. We don't need to have a consultant from Harvard come and tell us what to do. It's just turn the water on.
And at a certain point, the more global and broader you get, it does actually get simpler. Like when you're a city councilman trying to figure out how to get the homeless out of the area, you're like, well, we could do this or that or whatever. And then it's like international relations. It's like, well, you got to be tough. You got to be stronger than them,
Yeah.
And then California, we just got to bring them the water, like at a global scale. And that's why I think Trump is such an effective leader at times.
Because he zooms out.
He zooms out. Exactly. It's a broad perspective.
And with all those wins, we do have our first L. Can you read that one?
Additional measures to combat anti-Semitism, an executive order signed by Donald Trump.
You can't win them all.
Yeah.
Did you know that we obviously give Israel billions of dollars, and some of those billions were used to build their Iron Dome?
Yeah.
And then we ourselves want to build an Iron Dome, but then they won't share the technology or the source code back with us, even though we basically built theirs?
I thought we were their greatest ally.
That's what I thought too. It doesn't seem like it.
Is that a one-way street?
It seems like it's a definite one-way street.
Another one of those sexless sugar daddy relationships I mentioned earlier.
Exactly. And then here's a picture of Chuck Schumer from a few days ago during one of the hearings. And I can't really I can't make a comment about this anymore because I'll be sued for anti-Semitism or get deported.
Well, we have to read the executive order first before we can comment on this one.
So I guess that's the days of making fun of Chuck Schumer going like this are over.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into our next story, my favorite story of the week. Federal workers are resigning in mass. Trump offered them a resignation deal that a lot of them are going to take. Can you read the details?
Yeah, Trump offers federal workers full pay through September 30th if they resign by February 6th. The workers must have completed at least 12 months of continuous service. So basically, in lieu of everybody returning to office, he is offering them full pay until, for I think 8 months, just to kind of quietly dip into the night. And that will obviously save money long-term with attrition.
And this is similar to the self-deportation theme, where we're kind of like, yeah, we're going to fire everybody, we're going to downsize everybody, but if you want to take a decent deal now and take like 8 months of pay, you can kind of make it easier for us and self-deport. And I really like that energy. I think that's a really good way to solve problems.
Yeah. Don't you want to go on vacation? Don't you want to, you can go to the private sector, have fun.
8 months of pay, you'll find a new job in 8 months. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And also during this whole process, they have to also prove that they didn't take a second job while working remotely for the federal government.
Fascinating.
So that's important too. A lot of these people were double dipping and just moving their mouse around all day.
Yeah. They call it overemployed. And then you just kind of have 1 or 2 Skypes a day, and you got to make sure those don't overlap, and then you're Gucci to collect double income.
And you just sit there and pretend you're listening, and you wear like a nice shirt and underwear or whatever, and then they go, anything from you? And you go, nope,
Not
that's
today.
it. That's it on my end.
Looks good to me, Mike.
All right, next, an OPM employee posted to 4chan or Reddit?
This is Reddit. You're horrible at that.
I'm really good at identifying.
4chan is so easy. You ever see the green text?
That's 4chan.
Yeah.
This is Reddit.
All right. And so Reddit, this whole thing has been happening and people are freaking out during the Trump administration. And one of the main places they communicate is the subreddit Fed News. It's like all for federal employees. So here's a post. This guy says, I've been an OPM, Office of Personnel Management, employee for nearly a decade and a federal employee for almost 20 years. I've never witnessed anything even remotely close to what's happening right now. In short, there's a hostile takeover of the federal civil service. Let me say this in no uncertain terms. OPM has been compromised and taken over. The very backbone of American government, the HR of all HR in the U.S. government, has been taken over by outside politicals. In just 5 days, they managed to push aside dozens of non-political, career civil servants who were there specifically to prevent the civil service from becoming the president's henchmen. The current acting director, Charles Chuck Ezell, is a low-level branch chief. He's the friendliest yes man you'll ever meet. He never says no. It's clear they pushed aside all the high-level non-political civil servants who refused to do Donald Trump's bidding until they found Chuck.
Good. And they use the word henchman.
Yeah. So he goes...
We were so early to all this.
Chuck, apparently he's a yes man. You know what yes men say to boss. They go,
sure thing, boss.
Sure thing, boss.
I'll clear all these guys out,
Right
boss.
away.
They ain't doing nothing.
And so, this is a great sign from a second Trump term perspective, too, because when we were looking at the first term, it was all these people who were like, oh, yeah, I'll shake your hand, and then do the opposite of what you needed done.
Stab him in the back.
Yeah, the entrenched bureaucratic deep state, which is, part of it. There's the deep state and then the bureaucratic state. And this is more bureaucratic state, but it's nice to see. It's like, yeah, we're steamrolling you guys.
We're steamrolling you guys. And the attitude is we'll deal with the consequences later.
Everyone's supposed to be non-political, too.
No, everyone's non-political. Everyone's out. And we'll deal with the consequences later. That's the energy. If Trump had just won in 2020, we'd have to be explaining to the media. Everyone would be looking at us with a microscope. Yep. And so many people will be against us. Now, after what they did for the last 4 years, we'll deal with the consequences later. Everybody's out.
Yeah.
And then also with the federal government resignations, people don't realize that a lot of NGOs rely on the federal government as well. We think of the federal employees, which is a huge number of people. But there's actually a ton of NGOs that milk the U.S. government as well, kind of behind the scenes. Can you read this summation tweet?
Yeah, it was already known that 13.4% of Americans work directly for the government, but it turns out a huge number of the 12.8 million nonprofit workers are also subsisting entirely off government grants. So the real total could be 24%. And that doesn't even include fake consultants and contractors for stuff like DEI, development aid, etc., that are for profit but only have a single client.
So yeah, there's obviously a scam within a scam there. All these NGOs and nonprofits, they're just milking us and they're writing their friends' contracts. It's all a big scam.
Yeah, and this is for all government, that 13.4% number. That includes state, local, every facet. The federal government is closer to 2% of the population, and the federal government is the largest employer in America, obviously. And yeah, all the hanger-ons, NGO, non-governmental organization. But I get all my money from the government, and then I go do what they're kind of giving me the money for, right?
Yeah.
So we've gotten into this real web of like handshakes and kind of secretive deals, and you're basically acting as an arm of the government despite being an NGO, right?
Just how they designed it.
Yeah.
All right, next we're getting into some of our confirmations. Kash Patel, RFK, Tulsi Gabbard were all this week.
Very theatrical.
Very theatrical. It's great content.
Yeah.
First, we're going to start with RFK throwing a Zin in.
So I take this to the University of Washington has conducted groundbreaking.
A little twitchy. He's fiending. Slip
it
in.
Because I could last till the break. I'm just going to put one in.
Yeah.
And obviously nicotine has a really bad rap because of cigarettes, but nicotine in the pure form is very good for testosterone and brain clarity and just function in general.
Yeah. I am a Zyn user.
Are you a Zyn user right now?
Not right now.
Have you ever Zinned on the show?
No. Maybe in Bonus Land one time, a little sneaky one, but if I can't last an hour and a half without zinning, then maybe I have bigger issues.
Yeah.
So I'm sure his hearing was probably multiple hours and he needed it a little more than me. I'm not getting yelled at. I'm having fun with my buddy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's like getting yelled at by Elizabeth Warren and shit.
Grilled, just better than sneaking a vape hit.
Yeah.
I did Zyn, or I did dip once in college, and I just got the spins. I felt sick. I had to go on the ground under a table, and like the light was making me throw up. I can't do it.
That's probably good. That's like the best reaction you could have. Because instead of being addicted to it,
I don't need a new hobby.
Yeah.
All right, and RFK was called a conspiracy theorist by this guy.
Are you a conspiracy theorist? That is a pejorative, Senator, that's applied to me, mainly to keep me from asking difficult questions of powerful interests. I was told that I was a conspiracy theorist. That label was applied to me because I said that the vaccines, the COVID vaccine, didn't prevent transmission and it wouldn't prevent infection, when the government was telling people, Americans, that it would. I was saying that because I was looking at the monkey studies in May of 2020.
It's hard to play RFK clips.
Yeah, but he knows the monkey studies of 2020. He was looking at the data. He reps He's fun. He's a funny guy. It's all theatrical though. All these things are like preset, and then you have to fake the emotion. It's like the world's a stage. It's all a big theater, and Elizabeth Warren is the starring role. You know, Bernie Sanders is second lead, and they're all trying to do the same shit.
And hopefully with the RFK confirmation, we can just be more realistic of, what's going on in the world. Mm-hmm. We can stop pretending that the Baskin-Robbins Oreo milkshake is maybe not that bad for us.
Have you been doing that? Have you been pretending?
You might think, it's a milkshake. It's mostly milk and ice and some cookies.
Cream.
Nothing crazy. But then I just discovered that the Baskin-Robbins Oreo milkshake was the unhealthiest thing on earth.
2,600 calories. Calories from fat, 1,220. 208% daily value of total fat and 295% of saturated fat.
And then can you read how many grams of sugar?
263. So 333.
333 carbs,
Yeah.
and then 263 grams of sugar, which is like a big gulp full of sugar.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of times these companies, I think McDonald's does it too, they put a chemical in these drinks so you can absorb that amount of sugar, because naturally if you ate 300 grams of sugar, your body would immediately puke it.
It's like you're automatically type 2 pre-diabetic or something.
Yeah, it'll kill you. Yeah. Like your body rejects it and you'd throw up. But then there's a chemical in there where it makes you not throw up. So then you absorb the sugar, and then it actually makes you fatter than you would ever be naturally, because naturally you'd at least puke maybe 70% of that sugar once you ingested it.
Okay. That's
pretty interesting,
fair.
right?
Yeah, we'll ask RFK.
Yeah, we'll ask RFK.
Those are the type of questions we should be asking RFK.
Yeah.
And then instead he
knows
getting
it.
badgered.
He's getting badgered, and he's also getting obviously grilled by the media. They had pre-written headlines before the hearing even started. So here we're zooming in on this woman's laptop, which I don't know if it's legal or not, but...
That's public domain, right? You're in public, and there seems to be a headline about RFK. So, again, everyone's playing their roles. Everyone has their role, and it's already predetermined. I know Elizabeth Warren's going to swing. I know RFK's going to deny it, and then the media is going to run with whatever they're already going to run with.
And then if you look at who's writing the article, it's like some 30-year-old girl who was probably a journalism major at NYU and hates her dad.
Yeah.
And that's who's going to write the narrative of what's going on in America.
Old school journalism is dead, and now it's just like, I watched the same thing, let me spin it my way.
Yeah.
And that's why podcasts like us exists,
Feels good.
Yeah.
All right, next, Elizabeth Warren did a press conference after the RFK hearing, and she's really concerned about vaccine manufacturers. Listen to what she says.
Profitable. In fact, he may have the opportunity to bankrupt the vaccine manufacturers, and then nobody gets vaccines.
Oh, no! Nobody's going to get vaccines because RFK is going to bankrupt them?
Classic.
That doesn't sound good.
I know. That's Elizabeth Warren's number one concern.
And she obviously gets a lot of money from these the vaccine companies, so does Bernie Sanders. All these people do. The biggest opposers of RFK are obviously the ones who get millions of dollars from all the vaccine companies.
Also, just a note, with all these confirmations, it's really sad to see, I saw a tweet about how young our founding fathers were, all early 20s and stuff. Now we have guys with shaking hands, asking questions. Elizabeth Warren, 75 years old. Bernie Sanders, way past his expiration.
And they shake and they go, "Oh,
I
Bitcoin,
never said that.
Bitcoin." It's like, you don't know about Bitcoin.
It's crazy. So, I mean, it's just, it's all theater, and it's very sad. And it's you either have the votes or you don't. And it's all a waste of time for the opposition, right?
Exactly. All right, speaking of very sad, the plane that crashed into the helicopter and then killed everybody was very sad a few nights ago.
First major aviation crash in America since 2009. So a long streak broke in there. 64 people on that regional American Eagle, a subsidiary of American Airlines plane. So major event,
Major event, very sad. God bless everyone who's affected by it. It's very sad.
Yeah.
That being said, we are going to touch on some topics that could maybe be not sensitive enough, but I think I have an idea of what happened, and Trump's kind of alluding to it too. First, we're going to start off with the FAA and what they were doing that night, and then we're going to zoom out and talk about the FAA and what they've been doing in general over the last few years.
Yeah.
So can you read the headline about that night?
This is from the New York Times, and it says staffing was not normal at Airport Tower, according to a preliminary FAA report. And so a lot of these reports are going to come out over time. We're not going to find out anything, but there's some preliminary information leaking out. The controller who was handling helicopters in the airport's vicinity Wednesday night was also instructing planes that were landing and departing from its runways. Those jobs typically are assigned to 2 controllers rather than 1.
So that's not good. Undermanned.
Atypical situation, and it's like, okay, immediately someone's overworked or there should have been another person in there. So ugly right off the bat.
And then this falls under Pete Buttigieg, Gay Pete Buttigieg's department, the Department of Transportation.
Yep.
And listen to what Trump said about that.
The FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Pete Buttigieg, a real winner. That guy's a real winner. Do you know how badly everything's run since he's run this Department of Transportation? He's a disaster.
He's a disaster.
I love when you can tell Trump's going off the script right now, and he's just doing a sidebar to humiliate Pete Buttigieg.
And it might seem harsh at a time like this, but when you look at what the FAA has been prioritizing over the last few years, it actually needs to be called out. Can you read the headline here?
Yeah, this is one we covered on the show, and we've been talking about this for a long time, and now it just is tied to a fatal accident, right? Possibly. FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities. That's who they're they're going after those, right?
And then we also covered a few months, maybe a year ago at this point, how they were given a point system. So if to increase their diversity, they had a point system where if you did really bad in science in college, that actually gave you more points than someone who tested well.
Yeah, the air traffic control switched to like this biographical test that it's like, what do you like playing sports? Like it asked questions like a BuzzFeed questionnaire. And one of those, it awarded you points if you said you did bad in science. And it was all these dog whistle kind of responses that were supposed to award points to more minority applicants.
Do you like to let that thing talk?
Yeah. Have you ever had Hennessy? Rate Hennessy on a scale of 1 to 10. And that's a joke, but it was honestly like stupid personality questions instead of what's your score on the air traffic controller test?
Yeah, and we're going to get to that. There's a class action lawsuit that's happening. But can you read some more of the things they were looking for, people with problems?
Yeah, this is from their page on the targeted disability for the headline that we just mentioned.
Hearing disability.
Yeah, vision, blind, missing extremities. We want people with partial paralysis, complete paralysis, or epilepsy, severe intellectual disability. Dwarfism. That's the only one where I'm like, okay, dwarf. Yeah. You want a dwarf? Fine.
Get a dwarf in
That's
there.
just a regular guy, but he's got to pass the test,
He's
too.
got to stand on an apple box to see out the window.
I know.
You got to raise the floors a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's annoying to see because then something like this happens, and instead of being the most prepared, we've been like, how can we make it the most gay?
We've been doing the opposite. We've been literally avoiding preparedness in lieu of disabled and protected classes, right?
And then there's been 503 incidents lately. Is that correct?
Yeah, this was from one of the years. It just shows the trend of how many close calls there have been. While the U.S. airspace is remarkably safe, potentially dangerous close calls have been happening on average multiple times a week this year. I think this was in 2023. Some controllers say they fear a deadly crash is inevitable. In the fiscal year that ended September 30th, there were 503 air traffic control lapses that the FAA preliminarily categorized as significant, 65% more than in the year prior, according to internal agency reports. During that period, air traffic increased by about 4%. So 4% increase in air traffic, but a 65% gain in close calls, right?
Not good.
Yeah.
And then we also have some info about what Obama did, because Trump did mention Obama's policies in DEI with FAA, and people are like, oh, he's blaming Obama. But when you read this, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, in 2013, President Barack Obama appointed FAA Administrator Michael Huerta, deemed that these hiring standards had not produced a pleasing mix of air traffic controllers when it came to race and sex. He announced plans to transform the FAA into a more diverse and inclusive workplace that reflects, understands, and relates to diverse customers it serves. As if you're not just talking to pilots.
We can't just get all the military guys in there?
And that's when they brought out that personality test. That like, well, what do you do? Do you like sports? What, you got bad grades in science, right?
You drive a Hellcat or no?
That was for diversity, right?
And then our next clip, we're going to round out the section with this. This guy is doing a class action lawsuit because a lot of qualified white guys who got like perfect scores on the FAA test are getting rejected and not hired.
Representing Mountain States Legal Foundation as part of a class action on behalf of 900 plus would-be air traffic controllers. And so we brought this suit based on the FAA's change in its hiring practices. So it used to be that they would score a pre-employment test and it would be based on merit. And all of our clients passed with flying colors. Many of them passed with 100% on this test. And the FAA decided that the pool of air traffic controller applicants was too white. And so they flushed that initial test and they adopted a biographical assessment, which you can already hear as an ominous term for a air traffic controller test. And unfortunately, our clients didn't pass that. And we allege that the FAA changed the test in order to gerrymander the racial.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's a class action suit. The guy's got a perfect score and didn't get hired.
Yep.
It was all biographical.
Just put it in the shredder. We need more blacks.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me the paralyzed guy.
Is there we had a dwarf over here? All right, that's the end of that section.
Well, so here, it's not the end. Let's talk about this. Initial reports say that the co-pilot of the helicopter who ran in, that's what it's looking like to everybody, is the helicopter made a horrible mistake. The plane was just on a normal vector to land, was on pace for a normal landing. It seems like helicopter error. The co-pilot or pilot in command was a woman. This is according to Fox, and she had 500 hours of flying experience, which is not a lot.
Especially with that type of helicopter.
Yeah, I mean, 500 hours, that's usually on the aircraft that they're talking about, so it doesn't matter, but it's just not a lot. And again, we just want to say, this is something that the right wing in general has been warning about and talking about for a really long time. You can't just swap out people. People aren't interchangeable units when it comes to one of our most valuable infrastructure assets, which is air travel. The controllers double booked. Who got hired for what reason around there? We'll figure it out over the course of time. But when an incident like this happens, it just doesn't look good at all. And we're not saying there was a DEI thing that made this thing happen, but it's probably pretty likely.
We know what they were prioritizing at least.
Yeah.
And when you have something happen that goes bad, we have to look at what everyone was doing instead.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to our next segment, which is immigration. Good news right off the bat. America went from 2,000 illegal aliens caught at the border every day under Biden to less than 150 per day under Trump. 93% reduction.
It's called a straight line down.
That's a straight line down, and it actually proves how deliberate the mass migration before Trump was.
Yeah.
It seems like, it's so hard. These people are coming, we know what to do. 93% down. So clearly it was very manageable. Just people were on purpose letting everyone in.
Again, I've said this several times, but if I was just getting that one thing from voting for Trump and I didn't get anything else I liked, that would be worth it. You know what I mean? So,
and then this, when you look at it that way and look how easy it was, it makes you wonder, was mass migration a tool for ethnic cleansing? I think yes. Look at this graph.
Yeah, this is white percentage of total births for the year 2023. And a lot of these numbers are very grim. 22% in Texas, 19% in California, 31% Florida, New Mexico, bad, Arizona, bad, Nevada, bad.
Yeah, horrible.
And so this is the type of thing where we would say the UN report called mass migration to somewhere would be a form of ethnic cleansing, but not for the US.
Yeah.
That's if you did it in Sudan or if you did it in Kenya or something.
Or Israel.
Yeah.
Not for white people.
Exactly.
We have to get rid of that.
Not for white Americans. America is an idea and a melting pot.
Yeah, exactly. All right, this next clip I think is the most telling clip of the entire section. This woman is talking about how the Mexicans returning to Mexico are overwhelming the system.
Mexico cannot cope. Not sure any country can, but Mexico can't cope with a sudden influx of millions of people. I mean, as much as she wants to embrace them, to use her word, when they come back and make them feel welcome, it all sounds very nice when you're listening to it, but the reality of that is just completely unsustainable. A lot of these.
So swap Mexico with America.
And that's what we were saying.
And you're telling us what we said.
Yeah.
It's completely unsustainable. We can't deal with millions of people influxing in.
Especially dumping third worlders. These are now coming back to Mexico, your countrymen.
Yeah.
So they should know how to work the streets. They should kind of know their way around.
But how about making the normal immigration argument and not even realizing that that's exactly what we're saying?
Yeah.
And we're sending them back. It's not like we're sending you new people. We're sending the people back. But what? We can handle the influx of millions of people? And I think that obviously the big difference is when it comes to like the left versus the right, obviously there's the bad guys that are doing this on purpose to ethnically cleanse white Christians.
Yeah.
But then there's like the stupid water carriers for the left and the Democrats, like that woman. And they have the idea that they're good people, and they're good people because they want to help the poor people, and they want to help them by bringing them in. And we're the bad guys because we don't want to bring them in. But we don't want to bring them in because we know that there's millions and billions of desperately poor people that would want to come here. So immigration isn't a solution to help these people who have nothing. But they just think, oh, you hate brown people, you're xenophobic, all this stuff. But in reality, it's like, no. Like, we feel bad for people who are desperately poor, of course. But we also know that if we just bring them in, our country will become the country they came from. And we zoom out and can kind of play it out. Yeah. We're like, all right, we're bringing in millions and millions. That's a drop in the bucket compared to the 3 billion desperately poor people in the world. This isn't an actual solution. And they just think, no, I want to help. There's a crying baby at the border, and there's a woman with barbed wire. We got to help. You're mean for not helping.
Yeah.
And it's like completely removed from reality.
And that's another one of the things where we're talking about Trump's ability to zoom out. This woman sees a crying lady and goes, come on, help her. Let her into California, give her health care. And Trump goes, wow, there's a ton of poor people out there. We really can't take them all. And then, like, that's the end of the discussion, you know?
But it's just good guys versus bad guys. We're mean because we don't want to bring them. They're nice for wanting to bring them, but they don't even realize they're destroying the whole country.
Yeah.
And can you read this tweet that I thought was funny?
We are reminded that liberals think these people are a burden and wanted that burden thrust onto us.
Yeah. You send them back and it's a burden. No, those are great people with good heritage and culture, right?
Those are hard workers. Those people just want an honest life. Mexico, you have to give it to them, right?
And then we have more good news. Obviously, a lot of the people do come to America in caravans funded and facilitated by NGOs. Can you read this?
Yeah, breaking funding for all NGOs that facilitated illegal immigration has been canceled. A few NGOs that are about to be bankrupt are Catholic Charities USA, United Way Worldwide, American Red Cross, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, HIAS, Global Refuge, and Jewish Family Services.
Good. Bye. No more.
And that was from Kristi Noem, who cut them all off, Department of Homeland Security. And you guys, like $180 million a year going to these people. And again, this is NGOs, non-government organizations, getting almost $200 million a year from the government to do this bad thing. So yeah, you're fucking cut off. Mm-hmm. You're not the sugar baby anymore.
We're not funding our own invasion anymore.
Exactly.
It's not even crazy. All right, next.
Yeah, we're just getting back to neutral. We're just getting back to even. This is like a gambler, desperate gambler, like, oh my God, I'm even. After you went all the way down and back. And like, you know, you actually feel good getting back to even. So that's, I guess, would be.
Yeah, it does feel good.
Yeah, so.
I know that feeling.
But now we got to win. Now we got to start the hot streak. So.
And then we got people on CNN trying to pull the emotional heartstrings, but they don't fully know how to connect to normal people. Listen to what this lady says.
I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies. I cannot wait until there is a full crackdown on all small businesses, as if that's going to be the solution to the immigration problem. It is just...
Berries for your smoothies?
She can't wait. That's the punishment.
You think all these illegals, they're just my nice housekeeper, Rosario, who comes every Tuesday. Why do you hate Rosario? She's so sweet.
She makes enchiladas.
She leaves them and she does a meal prep for me for the whole week. She leaves Mexican food.
Yeah.
And that's like your understanding of illegal immigration is the berries for your smoothie. Yeah, people are fucked. And then people like that go on TV and it's like the CNN host, it's like...
That's like an
accident. That was kind of stupid.
Who's going to clean your toilets?
Yeah.
It's the Ozzy Osbourne's daughter.
Yeah.
But again, guys, if you're making a choice here, what would I rather import? Like, as a society, America can't figure out how to pick berries because people won't do it for such low wages, or we're too rich and affluent of a country that we can't pick berries. I would rather import berries than 20 million people.
Yeah.
Than a biomass of ethnic people who don't speak English. What
99% of which are nowhere near related to berries at all.
Exactly. Exactly. They're doing dishes in the back of a restaurant, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of those jobs could probably, like the farming jobs and then the doing the dishes, that could probably be automated.
Let's focus on some tech for them, and then we end this argument, and we don't need 15 million people.
I don't want to go crazy on automation, but like automation for the jobs no one wants to do, I think
sounds reasonable.
We can start there.
Yeah.
All right, and we have Tom Homan doing an interview with this woman.
You treating migrants humanely,
Yes.
but there's been reports of them on planes with no water,
That was a bunch of
complaining.
crap. That was a bunch of crap.
What do you mean a bunch of crap?
ICE detention facilities have the highest detention standards in the industry. Any of the ICE standards, our detention standards are higher than any state or federal or local facility in the nation, in the world. Someone should go to the ICE website, look at PBNDS11, performance-based detention standards, and look at our detention standards, highest in industry.
But are you sure you're only getting...
I love this guy.
He's a true Border Patrol lifer, and he knows all the acronyms, and he goes, look at this, check our website. He's ripping a Red Bull. Talking shit to the reporter.
And then someone had a physiognomy check on him. Can you read what it says?
Tom Homan has powerful medieval Yowman farmer physiognomy. This is the guy who used to grab ruffians by the back of their shirts and throw them into the pig pen because they were talking to Bawdy in the tavern, where he was trying to eat a roast chicken and a block of cheese.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's an old school type of guy.
Yep, but we do have some people trying to oppose him. Alex Frey, is that his name?
Jacob Frey.
Jacob Frey from Minneapolis. This is what he said about ICE and coming to town.
I want to speak directly to people who are undocumented. We love you. We care about you. In the city of Minneapolis, we will stand up for you, and we will do anything in our power to help.
The main point about this was the person doing sign language. Rapboy told me this the other day. He looked it up. It's for deaf people who can't read.
That's like the leftist justification. We've always made fun of it, and it's for deaf people who can't read.
There's captions. There's closed captions if you need them. It's for deaf people who can't read, and then it takes up half the screen.
Which, if you're going to be deaf, the first thing you have to do is learn how to read. You can't hear.
That's all you got left.
All you have is this. So if you are deaf and then you didn't figure out how to read, or nobody ever taught you, or you never learned, then you don't need to worry yourself about the press conferences. You need to worry about like your diaper, getting groceries, like the basic did you lock your door?
Yeah.
Like the basic human elements. If you're deaf and can't read, I'm sorry, you don't need to be listening to Jacob Frey on ICE.
Yeah, we're not really taking you into account.
Yeah. And again, these leftists, just for the point of like leftist governors and mayors and whatever, mayors I get a little more, but like J.B. Pritzker or someone like that, a governor of Illinois, who's like, we're going to do everything we can to not let ICE in and blah, blah, blah. All this kind of grandstanding against cooperating with the federal government. Then you look at the state and it's like 45% of the state of Illinois voted for Trump. And so J.B. Pritzker and all these people are like, well, just because we have a thin majority, that means I'm going to impose whatever my side wants onto the whole state, right?
And half the people are like, what the fuck?
Half the people are like, I voted for this. And so that's even more reason for us to take advantage of our time and power, right? Because it's not like let's reach a compromise and, okay, well, let's do the bad ones and let's figure out, well, there's probably 10 million, let's do 5. You know, there's no brokering a deal. It's just pure power plays between who's in charge. And that's why we need to seize our opportunity so much right now.
Exactly. All right, we're going to go kind of quick through the last few parts. Here we have a parade for illegals. Everyone's waving the flags. Mm-hmm. And as it said online, everyone's waving the flag for the country they don't want to go back to.
They really, really, really would be sad if they had to go back there, but they'll wave the flag here.
So why don't you go back? Yeah. You'll enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously with the illegals comes a lot of crime. People pretend it doesn't, but there is. There was a huge fentanyl crackdown. Can you let that play? So that's the raid, and then they found a ton of fentanyl pills, like enough to kill like 100,000 people or something.
Yeah, I think it was over 100,000 total fentanyl pills.
Yeah, total pills. So that's what we're dealing with. And then people post pictures online. Like that's who's getting deported first. People post pictures online with like this girl crying. It's an AI image, and they say Christian's okay with this. And honestly, even if the AI image was real, yeah, I am okay with that.
We got to take care of us first, and we got to reverse some bad stuff. Were Christians okay with the country being flooded and like lowering wages for everybody? You know, they're like they just think like, oh, here we are now. You okay with this? The kid's crying. You're gonna want to shred that Constitution, right? And everybody else is thinking about like, well, something happened the last 4 years, right? Didn't something happen to us, and we have to kind of make that right? And that's why Trump got elected. But yeah, they act like it's in a vacuum. Like nothing happened up until now, and now you're just being mean to a kid whose mom just brought her here for a better life.
Exactly. And then our last piece for this segment, good news, Trump is sending the worst of the worst illegal criminals to Guantanamo.
Today I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Departments of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay. Most people don't even know about it.
Oh, Guantanamo
Bay. And yeah, Guantanamo, you know, that's where you go if you're an international violent criminal, right? Yeah. You're a stateless, violent ne'er-do-well on American soil. Where should we send you? Guantanamo. And the left is freaking out about this. They're calling it camps. They're like, see, he's doing camps. These are camps. And it's like, it's jail.
It's just jail.
It's jail for violent criminals, and they're international. Like, I don't know. They're obsessed with making a camps thing and like calling it Nazis. It's like, these are violent criminals going to jail. You don't think we don't just let them out. Right?
Yeah, they can bunk with Hillary Clinton, who's been there since 2017 for the crimes against children she committed.
Yep. And they have a second, what is it, AI Hillary out there?
Yeah, the bot.
Okay.
All right, well, that is the end of our migrant section. We are moving on to our final page of housekeeping, but before we get there, we have a very special message from My Patriot Supply. Guys, we've all seen the headlines. Cyber attacks on our grid system, drones in the sky, attacks on everyday Americans. The ugly truth is no leader or system can protect us from everything. And the last thing I want is to be standing online and waiting for the help that never comes. When crisis hits, food is always the first casualty. Everyone needs it, and the panic buying makes things even worse. That's why I've made sure my family is prepared with My Patriot Supply. Their 4-week emergency food kit gives you the nutrition you need to stay strong in a crisis. With 2,000 calories a day and 100% of your daily value of 12 essential vitamins and minerals, this kit keeps you going when every meal matters. Right now, they're offering $50 off of their 4-week emergency food kit. Go to preparewithfleckus.com right now and grab yours. Now is the time to prepare. Don't keep putting this off. Preparewithfleckus.com is the website. It's linked in the description. Thank you to My Patriot Supply for sponsoring. Let's get into Cringe. All right, thank you to My Patriot Supply.
Thank you.
Even when times are good, you never know what can happen. It's always good to be prepared. All right, we're on our final page of housekeeping. Make sure you use the opportunity to tickle the post, help us juice the algo, leave a like, leave a comment again, and start yapping. P.O. Box needs to be full, notifications need to be on, and old episodes need to be watched. We have a little bit of an abbreviated final page today because we are running low on time, so we're going to cover what we don't cover from the final page in bonus land, fleckustalks.com. But there is a clip I did want to show you guys. It's the shit out an egg machine. So you put an egg in, and he shits it out.
Shits out an egg turd for you to eat. Eat your slop, boy.
So you're telling me if I buy this shit out an egg machine, I can have shitted out eggs whenever I want?
Every morning. This is for you to commute. You don't have time to enjoy life. You just have to eat a shit out egg. And my initial thoughts on this were, you know how competitive the kitchen space is, and how like that was like one of the first things that was marketed, you know, like little kitchen appliances, and it was all marketed at stay-at-home women. And it's still a battleground out there, right? It's very hard to get a new appliance in to the kitchen.
Not much innovation lately.
Exactly. And I think the air fryer is the one that broke through recently.
That was the last one.
That was kind of the last man on on the helicopter out of Saigon. And I don't think the egg shitter has a chance, boys. Anybody who designed this needs to rethink their involvement in the appliance.
I don't even like eating eggs like that.
I know, and it shits it out.
I like to make a slow scramble.
Yeah, and I don't know, man. I just think back to the drawing board on this one, guys.
Yep. And then let's also show the basketball clip. This was a good thing I never saw before. They're playing basketball, fast break. There's someone moving a bench on the court. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I don't know what the plan was there. Sorry. He's apologizing to people who are standing by, not the kid who got wrecked.
Could have killed that kid.
Yeah. So
that's good action. Well, that was the end of our final page of housekeeping, abbreviated, obviously, but we're going to cover the rest in bonus land. We are now heading to Cringe of the Week. All right, Cringe of the Week.
Welcome.
We're going to go a little long this episode, as you guys can probably guess. Long housekeeping with all the political stuff. And instead of cutting things out of cringe, urban, and uplifting, we're just going to go an extra 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. All right, first is this guy who, as a joke, cleared his snow off the windshield with the baby. Let it play.
It's a 3-month-old baby. He's wiping snow off his car in a disgraceful viral video, says the Daily Mail. And he's just kind of using the baby's body to wipe the snow off.
And I don't think that's that bad.
Don't people throw the baby up in the air?
Yeah, that's illegal now. Making a bike ramp, that's illegal. No helmet on your bike, that's illegal.
Peekaboo? That's now scaring a child? I mean, obviously this is like a little unique, right?
It's a little unique, but people are calling for the baby to be removed and for Child Protective Services to get involved. So you think that this baby is better off in the foster system at 3 months old because the dad did a joke on the internet?
I think we've gone retarded.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where, like, yeah, maybe it didn't look good. Maybe if you're a lady going, and clutching your pearls, but I'm sure the dad didn't disrespect the baby and be like, yeah, now sit outside and stay chilly.
Yeah. Leave him on the ground after.
All the wet snow gets into all your corners. It's like, no, he probably obviously cares about the baby. It's a funny bit. Your baby's only like 20 pounds for a little while.
And it's not a big deal, but everyone is so retarded now, and we're being parented by our lesbian DEI government.
Yeah.
You can't do that. We have to take the baby away.
What happened to horsing around?
What happened to horsing around? Throwing the baby in the air? That's
death penalty.
You can't do that. And this also, we talked about this a few months ago. The woman whose 10-year-old kid went to the store by himself got arrested for that.
Yeah.
Very retarded. All right, next, speaking of retarded, DEI Captain America. Listen to what he said at a recent press tour.
For me, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable.
The marketing team probably watched this like, oh, no.
someone who's honest. No, that's Captain Honesty.
Yeah, that's Captain Integrity and Honesty.
You're Captain America. It's definitely about America, brother.
Yeah, it's most of the name.
Yeah, it's 50% of the name. And, this stuff. So Captain America's black now. They just swapped him out. The old guy doesn't want to do it anymore.
They did shoot this during Biden's term and probably thought Kamala was going to win.
Yeah.
So black Captain America who doesn't like America would have been great if Kamala was the president.
Yeah, and you know what? Captain America, he was created in 1941 when America was 90% white and about to go to World War II. And you know what? I think what he's most about is diversity. I think what he's most about is gay kids getting bullied.
Yeah, trans kids.
So, I mean, they just ruined it again. Marvel, here he is. He's black and he wears glasses now. They just took it.
Get him out.
And what were you saying about this? That, like, they could never make Captain Honesty and Integrity.
Yeah, if you wanted to make some Captain America deviation that was focused on integrity and inclusion and gay people and trans kids and trans folks, you should go make that, and then no one will see it.
No one will like it.
No one will like it. It will have no natural draw. And then they can't do that, so instead they just subvert something that already has a fan base built into it and ruin it.
Classic.
That's what they do.
Yep.
All right, our next clip, or our next story, actually, from the inauguration, there were a lot of balls and parties at night, and then New York Magazine went to one, and then they took a picture. They posted it on the cover, and they called it the Cruel Kids Table. and making it seem like everyone's white. But if you look at the zoomed out photo, there's a bunch of black people that they cut out of it.
Just out of frame.
So it was cruel because there's a lot of white people there, but they cropped all the black people out, which is actually cruel.
Yeah.
And then you kind of wonder what kind of gay freak thought this one up and wrote this article. Here it is.
And what's his name again? Brock something? And it's just this guy in a dress with makeup on. Looks like a total leftist freak.
Doesn't look like a Brock to me.
This whole thing, like this whole world we live in now, like there is immediately who is the messenger, you know? The message versus the messenger. It's like never been more important.
Yeah.
You know, and then judging a book by its cover, we've long been advocates for, sometimes you have to judge a book a little bit by its cover. But the messenger nowadays is at all-time highs. Like, you don't think there's just some old high school resentments brewing in this guy's little twink brain?
100%.
Motivating his entire article about this.
And then someone made a great point on Twitter. It said, if they look cruel to you, ask yourself why. It's just happy white people.
Yeah, that's it. It's pretty simple.
And then someone had a great summation of how it all works. About why leftists hate us so much. Can you give that a read?
It said, reminder, the average leftist hates themselves, their parents and family, their country, anyone who is a productive member of society, people who don't subscribe to self-victimizing and gender-based idpol, athletic and fit people, religious believers, unless they're non-white, then they can do no wrong, people who understand economics, children and families, business owners, or anyone who makes more money or has more than them.
Yeah. So that's why.
There's this basic hate and resentment, and a room full of like tuxedoed and nightgown wearing, drinking, having fun, celebrating Republicans is like kryptonite to them.
Yeah, the cruel kids table.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into...
Based on nothing. Nobody did anything. It just seems like those policies are mean. That writer had that going into it, and then so that's what's written, right?
There's no white people there. Yeah, they are. They're in that photo. Well, I just cut them out. Yeah. Now there's no white people there. It's all about the narrative. It's just a narrative. All right, our last piece of cringe, Mr. Sir, Lilly, had an interesting encounter in the bathroom. Listen to what happened.
I was just in the women's room at a cheesecake factory. And when I walked in, there was this little girl, like 3 years old, tops. She was standing there alone, I assumed waiting for her parent who was in the stall. And all the stalls were full. So like I couldn't go in, I just had to wait. And it was me and this little girl and no one else. And she kind of looked at me like, and I just like nodded my head and didn't look at her. I was like, it's kind of awkward. And it occurred to me that when the parent, who I don't know, leaves the stall, exits their stall and sees me, a trans person, and their little 3-year-old daughter, that they might make an assumption based on untrue things that they've heard. An assumption that could be very dangerous for me, unsafe for me. So instead of waiting for that to potentially happen, I left the bathroom.
Good. When in doubt, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out of the bathroom, Lilly. When in doubt.
And how about Lilly says it could have been dangerous for me?
Yeah,
like you're in the bathroom with the 3-year-old. That's the 3-year-old is who's in danger. Everyone knows that.
Is deeply in danger, especially have you guys seen some of your sex crime rates?
Yeah, the sex crime rates are crazy.
For trans people, federal prison.
So we're worried about the woman coming out and doing something to you, a man, or the 3-year-old statistically is actually way more danger. And I read an interesting thing online that made a lot of sense to me. A lot of trans people are autistic. And with autism people, they don't like to be disagreed with, because they can't really understand it that well. And when people disagree with them, they actually take it personally and think that they hate them. And then when you think about trans people who get misgendered or whatever, or assume the worst, a lot of times they're like, oh, if you think I'm a man dressed as a woman, you hate me.
Yeah.
And it's, and we hate you for different reasons.
Yeah.
But it's not, we don't just automatically hate, but the autistic mind interprets disagreement as hate. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's the end of Cringe of the Week. We're now moving on to Urban Decay. All right, our first clip of Urban Decay is a celebration from the Philadelphia Eagles game a few days ago. This guy is trying to do a stunt to impress the crowd. And listen to what the guy recording keeps saying to him.
This nigga about to kill himself. Yo, smoke yourself, nigga. Yo, smoke yourself. Flip, nigga. Flip, nigga. Smoke yourself. Kill, nigga. Break your fucking neck. Nigga, break your fucking...
And then he does it. Yelling, smoke yourself. And then he goes and smokes himself.
Oh, man.
That's as bad as it gets.
So the Super Bowl is Philly versus Kansas City. Kansas City, they get every call, every flag. I'm a little sick of them. But I hate Philly's fans so much. They're such scumbags. And they beat up the other players and all that, or the other fans, that I don't think I'm rooting for anybody. It's tough.
They can't read either.
Yeah, they're functionally illiterate. Most of the city. Well, actually, probably a lot of the white people are fine.
Yeah,
you know that functionally illiterate. That just means like how many minorities are there and they're not reading.
That's a good point.
But my other point is I saw a guy shooting a gun in Philly. Another guy died off a flagpole or like a street lamp post, whatever. They're just, if they win, it's going to be like 6 or 7 deaths.
Yeah.
So maybe Kansas City just does the three-peat.
Just take the three-peat.
Yeah.
All right, our next story, we actually covered it in Bonus Land on Tuesday, but a very fat woman rapper was denied a Lyft, and now she's suing Lyft.
Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe it.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
Every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
You know what? I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough.
Yeah.
What does tough mean in this context? You're 500 pounds.
Yeah.
You're pretty tough? Like
Tough
what?
tough to block in the A-gap.
Yeah, tough to really insult because you already know how fat you are. Like that's such a nonsense statement.
You know, and on the show we talk about a lot becoming unpinnable. She became unliftable.
Yeah, there's a difference.
She needed to order the Uber forklift. That would have taken her there. Yeah. And she could have blown out the guy's tires.
And we had a discussion on Bonus Land about this last episode where we were trying to guess her weight.
And Richard kind of humiliated himself.
I said 350, and then we've seen somewhere else that she was 489.
489.
And I don't have a mental model in my head to account for this like fupa area and like those thighs where it just gets fat. I don't know what that is. I can't ballpark that.
It's imagine like a whole person in there.
Clinging on to another person's skeleton.
Yeah.
Another overweight person's skeleton.
The Little Rascals did that once.
I know. This is a Little Rascals type body. And here's a video of her like at a rapping thing and she falls down because she doesn't have a good center of gravity.
Straight back.
That's a pretty easy fall, though.
It's an easy fall because you're only this far away from your butt touching when you go back because your butt's so big that you're basically on the ground already.
Yeah. So
and there's a Disney version of this coming soon. This is the cover photo for it.
Lyft. Yeah, she's all trashy.
And then she's suing Uber, I think, for Lyft. She's suing Lyft for $25 million or something, or $28 million.
Yeah. And I'm going to follow this one closely because if she wins any money, I'll kill myself.
Yeah.
we have a serious problem if this type of fat person can't get turned away from someone.
Yeah.
And the argument is fat is a protected class. And it's like, no, it's not. It's never been. What does that mean? So, I don't know. Watching with great interest, but she's tough.
Yeah.
She's going to die soon, but she's tough in the meantime.
Not tough enough to just order a new Uber.
Yeah.
But she needs to sue now because she owes $30 million for that experience.
Yep.
All right, our last clip of Urban Decay is the Tiffany Heynard.
Yeah.
She's the mayor of that Illinois town.
Dalton, Illinois. She's like the most hated mayor in American history right now at this point.
Yep. And she's very corrupt, too. She wastes the taxpayer money. Everyone knows that. Here's the what started the brawl. This ends in a brawl, but here's the guy talking that starts it.
Woman. Moved away to Texas, and when her daughter moved away to Texas, she went to help her daughter. But I done heard about 4 or 5 people tell me how they had to take care of yours. And so now you've been a half-ass mayor. But if you wanted to get up here and earn some respect, then you should have been able to respond to Lori Lightfoot's report about credit cards. You want to talk about them not coming to work, but we've been hearing about what you've been doing while you've been at work. And I'm going to give away the rest of my time because I think on behalf of the Black Cookout Association, that we would rather take a vote, that we're gonna exchange your black ass for Stephanie to be the new member of Congress. So all those in favor say, all those against it, say nay. All those in favor say aye. You gone, bitch.
So pretty intense. And then we zoom past a little bit. We see the fight break out a few seconds later. There's a wig went flying, but she the mayor and shit.
It was her boyfriend, the mayor's boyfriend, who kind of started that fight after the insulting community member. I think if someone gave me a free house in this city, I would just say, no thank you.
You can have it. Yeah.
I will pass.
But this is R and S. Yeah. R stands for real, S stands for shit, and we know what N stands for. She could be the mayor of Waffle House, maybe, or maybe the mayor of Spirit Airlines.
Yeah, something. There's an alternate job, but this is the type of woman who will get like randomly 2-3 months from now, Trump's Department of Justice is just gonna swat her.
Yeah,
her whole house, and they're gonna get her on some shit,
raided,
and all the inappropriate spending, and whatever she's done, it'll come back.
Exactly, it always does. That's it. That's the end of Urban Decay.
Okay.
We're now moving on to Uplifting Gold. Don't get too down or too depressed.
This was an 80% housekeeping episode, guys.
That's okay. That happens sometimes. And uplifting, there's some uplifting stuff, but there's a lot,
He phoned it in as well, is what he's admitting.
There's a koi pond and a Chinese buffet. That's our first piece of Uplifting Gold.
With no ground.
There's a wire up there too.
Good for them.
But no ground. I respect that.
Do you like koi?
Not really.
If you had a compound, would you have a koi pond?
No.
You wouldn't like it? I think they're pretty nice. You get to look at them.
When I was a little kid,
I
went on vacation to Arizona, and there was a huge koi pond, and then there was a restaurant right next to the koi pond, and then I took bread from the bread and butter service at the restaurant. And I was like, I placed my order, and I went to the koi pond, and I was throwing chunks of bread in, and then they would come eat it, and then I would grab them and pull them out of the water.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I thought it was cool. And then I went back to dinner, and I ate like a hot dog and French fries with my hands. I never washed my hands, and I got really sick that night, all night, throwing up.
Okay.
So I hate koi.
I remember feeding some koi at a friend's wedding recently. Yeah? Kyle, remember the
I
wedding?
did that too.
I know, and then we got yelled at.
Because they were like, you can't feed him that. You're going to kill all the fish. This is $100,000 worth of koi.
All right, whatever. We're digressing.
Yeah, send me the bill.
That was funny, though.
That was. Next, there is illegal Florida chariot racing that occurs on Okeechobee Road in Miami. Look at this. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's uplifting.
Yeah. Cockfighting next.
But you got to go if you're not here legally.
Yeah.
We don't want that shit. I'm against it now. Next, we have some ranching with horse and dogs.
Dude, it looks like... Big steer or what? Oh, you motherfucker.
That's cool.
Yeah.
They don't twist their ankle on the rocks like that?
I don't know. I think they're everybody. You underestimate them. They were all just out kind of in nature before.
Yeah.
So you underestimate them a little bit.
That's good action.
They know
That's
how
like
to
a
maneuver.
movie.
Yeah, that's good POV shit.
All right, next is the fish try to eat the lady's head. You get paid extra for that.
Fish really have that extra like mouth thing that really shoots out. They
I think
gotta
that's
go
a
quick.
special type of fish. That's
Yeah.
like a shark type fish.
For sure. But I'm saying most fish have like even bass. They have that. They
Yeah.
have that pop. You got to like surprise them.
Extendability, it's
exactly.
called.
Yep.
Next is Snake in the gorilla costume.
Shivan,
I just want.
where are you, Manchu?
I love you.
I love you.
I love you so much, Papa.
I love you.
I love you. I love you. Hey!
Bas. Ayo. 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 Ayo.
Keep going. It keeps letting you go a little bit. It's the end of the show.
Sick. Ay, Laura.
All right, that's good. That's good stuff.
I like that circus. A lot of midgets. I like that.
Yeah, they give him jobs.
TSA jobs, right? Or air traffic control.
He's got a resume.
Yeah.
All right, next we have some shout outs. Before our shout outs, we have people watching the show with the duck.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Kelly, and I am officially declaring war on.
He likes it.
That's good. He's part of the group.
There you go.
That's another view we didn't get because everyone's watching on one screen.
The duck needs his own device.
Duck needs a device. All right, let's get to some shout outs. Happy birthdays, anniversaries. We got a lot. We're going to go somewhat paced. Happy birthday to Eli Jackson, who turned 24 on January 29th.
Happy birthday, Eli Jackson. That name sounds like a Confederate soldier.
Strong
Eli Jackson. He's been here for 15 generations.
Yep.
That type of name.
Middle name's Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday to Angela's husband, John Gill. Huge show watching family. The whole network, major show watchers. It was November 28th, but she forgot, and it's not too late.
There you go.
So happy belated birthday, John. Thank you guys for watching. And you can't be mad at Angela anymore.
There you go.
The duck watching the show, we already had that. And that was sent in by Ricky Groinus. Thank you, Ricky, for sending in that duck picture video. Happy 11th anniversary to Josh and Talia, which is today, January 31st, and they're major bonus landers. And they also have a Christian clothing company called Schwomptees, SHWOMPTEES. So go check that out, guys, if you like Christian clothing. I do. I'll be checking that out. Happy birthday to Hudson on February 1st. He actually drew us this picture. He turned 11 years old.
Happy birthday.
And he drew that picture. That looks exactly like the background.
There you go.
That's very cool. Thank you, Hudson. Happy birthday. Shoot us a message and we'll send you a free t-shirt. Happy birthday to Josh Cooper, a.k.a. Thomas the Taint Engine. He introduced the boys to the show, and now they all watch. And it's his birthday, and they got him a secret shout-out. So happy birthday, Josh.
Happy birthday, Josh.
Thank
you to the boys.
Thank you to the boys. We got it. We did the shout-out. Happy birthday to Nicholas Hughes, who turned 30 today. Very cool, Nick. Happy birthday to Aaron. His birthday was yesterday. He and Becca, his girlfriend, watch every episode for the last 2 years.
Wow.
Very cool.
Happy birthday.
And then a happy 3-year anniversary to Nicholas and Sarah on January 28th. When they first met and were dating, they would get together every week and they would watch the show and This Week in Culture. And then she said that the show reminds her of the butterflies she used to get when they would go hang out. And then they would hang out and watch the show.
Wow.
So the show brings butterflies too, in a way.
You're getting your wires crossed.
You're attracted to the show now.
Pavlovian dogged you or whatever.
All right. Another Fleckus Talks in the books. Thank you guys for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. FleckusTalks.com for a 30-minute bonus land dropping right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Have a nice weekend. We will see you on Tuesday.
I can't wait until American women can't get blueberries for their smoothies.